Hello everyone, and we are live officially. Hi everyone, and welcome to our Instagram Live. As we promised back in July, we are back with the second in the series in the collaboration between Coastr and the BVRLA. Hello everyone, I see a few people join in. Hello everyone, welcome. If you've missed our previous live with Greg, who's the membership at the manager at the BVRLA, make sure to check out our Instagram live that was done a few weeks ago for the full interview. My name is Robert and I'm part of the social media team here at Coastr, and I have the honor of being your host today. As many of you know, we will be joined today by the amazing Amanda Brandon, BVRLA's Director of Fleet Services. Hopefully, our conversation will be informative, provide a ton of value to everyone, help many of you make better decisions as fleet managers and car rental operators. I see Amanda has now joined the live as well, any minute now. But before we start, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Coastr. And for those of you, hello Amanda, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon.
How are you feeling today?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Good.
The sun's shining, so you can't complain.
Amazing. As I was saying, for those of you who don't know, Coastr was founded out of passion to try and make vehicle rentals better for everyone. We were established back in 2018, and we aim at revolutionizing the car rental market together with our AI and telematics. Coastr's fully digital platform provides independent car rental businesses with the latest tools and technology to become fully digitized and be able to compete with major market players. We're actually proud to be an associate member of the BVRLA. And Amanda, for those who don't know here, can you tell us a little bit more about the BVRLA and what you guys do?
Sure. So BVRLA is the trade body for vehicle rental and leasing companies here in the UK. We're established way back in 1967, and we're based in Amersham in Buckinghamshire. We've got about 30 staff. And our main role, obviously, as a member organisation is to represent and protect our members' businesses. So anybody who's renting or leasing out a car, whether it be for 30 minutes or 5 years, we provide products, services, and have really good relationships with government to look and work and protect that sector and help it to innovate.
Amazing. So hopefully you guys now have a better understanding of the BVRLA. Of course, if you have any questions regarding that, pop them in the comments, and at the end of the live, we'll be able to answer them. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about our guest. Amanda joined the BVRLA in July 2002 as a legal and policy executive responsible for running the BVRLA's committees alongside supporting the BVRLA's policy work. Amanda was promoted to operations manager in July 2018, and she is now the director of fleet services as of from January 2020. Amanda is responsible for leading the activities of the BVRLA's alternative dispute resolution service and fleet services, including the BVRLA's fair wear and tear standard. Now, she is very knowledgeable about the industry, so be sure to listen up and enjoy. Amanda, shall we jump straight into the questions?
Sure.
Okay. Firstly, let me ask you, how is the BVRLA helping cater to the fleet shortage? How do you think rental companies can cater to the fleet shortage as of today?
So yesterday I was we had a parliamentary reception with government, with quite a number of MPs, and our members were there as well. And actually one of the biggest conversation points was about how you can get hold of new cars at the moment. It's really, really difficult, really hard. Certainly the members that I was speaking to, where they're trying to plan what's going on, and there's a really fine balance, I think, between whether you hold on to the cars that you've got or cars and vans that you've got and rent them out and maximize your utilization on them, or whether you benefit from the great demand that there is for used stock at the moment. And if you get rid of it, then are you able to get new stock? I mean, from a trade body point of view, there isn't a huge amount that we at the BVRLA can do. There is no vehicles out there at the moment. We can't magic them, and we can't, the ones that are there, we can't make sure that they go to rental or leasing companies. That's all the commercial side of it.
Yeah.
But what we can do is make sure that people recognise that there's an actually really good opportunity for rental companies if they have got vehicles available to rent, because people need to will extend their leases. That there's much more opportunity in that kind of flexible rental space for somebody who's now, who thought they were waiting 3 months for their new lease car, they're now actually waiting 6 months for it, or 9 months even. And so that flexible rental product, I think, really comes into its own when that's happening. So I think there's some great opportunities at the moment.
Yeah, honestly, that sounds very helpful. I know that this has been an issue that's been affecting a lot of people in the industry, and it's good to know that trade bodies such as yourself are really doing something out there to help regarding this issue. Let me ask you, what did the BVRLA do differently to support its members during the pandemic?
So wow, it seems like ages ago now, but in March last year, we all packed up our office in Amersham and moved to our house, where I still am. Sorry, kids' artwork in the background, etc. And we carried on. I think a trade body really comes into its own in that type of crisis situation. We were very much on a reactive lobbying space for several months. We made sure the first and most important thing we did was make sure that rental was recognised as a key business and that it had to stay open. Initially, they were saying, right, that's it, rental companies should close, you shouldn't be operational. And then we were able to very quickly talk to ministers, talk to government, and say, actually, do you realise these guys are providing vehicles to the NHS? They're providing vehicles to Tesco's, to other supermarkets, etc. So it was really, really important that we got that key status maintained, which we did. And then we had to look at, well, if you're going to stay open, how can you protect your staff? How can you make sure that they're safe? And so we produced a lot of guidance and a lot of information that helped members doing things like separating out, the 2 metre space in branches, but then also how do you deliver vehicles? Normally a typical rental company will put 4 members of staff in a car and send them around to pick up 4 other cars. You can't do that in a pandemic situation. So what's the alternative? Do you put 1 person in each car, and how do you separate? So there was lots of guidance and things like that we did. We provided we were doing, I think at one point for probably at least 4 months last year, we were doing daily bulletins out to members to tell them the latest information from government, what was changing, what support packages were available for those that were more consumer focused, and obviously tourist, inbound tourism focused for where their main business came from. So we we're looking at recovery there as well.
That's great. And are these bulletins still available for people who would say join now?
Yeah, so all the information that we did with COVID is still on our website, along with there's information about Brexit as well, and a number of different areas. I'd strongly recommend that anybody who hasn't had a look at our website that goes and checks that out. There's lots of information on there. All of the guidance documents, and also some of the other recovery work that we did, which included things like when there was the VAT reduction last year for holiday accommodation, we made sure that companies that were renting camper vans could benefit from that as well.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend everyone who's in this live to check out the website. I know that we at Coastr frequently visit the BVRLA. You guys have amazing articles and reports also, not only bulletins for its members, but even just free stuff for anyone who's looking for more information. Definitely check that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, can you put a spotlight on the recent regulations that aim to help the rental and leasing industry tread on the path to recovery and contribute to economic growth? I know that's been a big issue lately.
Yeah, I think some of the areas that we're looking at the moment are around recovery at airports, and what support the government is looking at, whether they can support airports, but also obviously rental companies based in and around airports are they're a key hub there. So we're looking at how we can work to generate some revenue there, and whether there's any support we can get from government. And then also the main area that's obviously key there is decarbonisation, and making sure that rental companies are seen as being the leader in terms of take up in electric vehicles, and if that's how that's going to work, what's the infrastructure that's needed, what investments needed, and things like that. So there's quite a few areas that we're working on there, but then also with HM Treasury, so looking at some fiscal incentives, what's needed to help a rental company who wants to invest and take up electric vehicles. What can they do? How can that work? And there isn't much available at the moment. Obviously government over the last 18 months has spent hugely in terms of trying to keep companies going, and furlough, etc. So there isn't a lot of opportunity for us, but where there is, we're really trying to make sure that that's directed towards rental and leasing companies.
Yeah, that makes sense. And sustainability itself has been a massive kind of frontier, not only for governments but for industries all around. And can you tell us a little bit more about what the BVRL is doing to support rental businesses to become more sustainable?
Yeah, sure. So that's probably our big decarbonisation and sustainability is probably our biggest policy focus at the moment. I think not a week goes by at the moment where we're not responding to another consultation about that. And again, on our website, you'll see yesterday, as part of the parliamentary reception that I mentioned, we've published the Road to Zero report card. What that is basically a report that shows how well we think cars, vans and commercial vehicles are transitioning towards zero emissions and to meet the government target. And it's, as it says, a kind of report card, a check-up to say, well, for example, we think cars, we're doing pretty well. Cars and electric vehicles in the car space are growing really well. But if you then look at that for some of the heavier, for the truck side, there's a long way to go and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So again, that's available on our website. And the main thing we're focused on in that space is infrastructure. So if you think about a rental company operating who's thinking about taking on EVs in their fleet, there's two things that they need to think about. First of all, rental companies typically turn their vehicles around in 20 minutes when they come back off rent. If you've got an electric vehicle, it's probably got to sit there for a good couple of hours to get charging it. So how does that work? How can you operate a fleet of electric vehicles out of a rental branch where you've got to, your space is limited, but you've got to sit there and have them charging? So we're looking at sort of how that can work. Then also, if you're that rental company and you're operating on an industrial estate, for example, if you're the first company on that industrial estate who says, I'm going to go electric and I'm going to put 5 charging points in, but your substation, for example, doesn't have the capacity. So you as the business who wants to put those charging points in will have to spend nigh on £500,000 to upgrade the substation, but you get nothing for that. So how does that work? How can I as a business justify that expense? And then everybody else that is in that area with me, all the other businesses, they benefit from that, and they haven't had that cost. So we're talking to government about those kind of things and saying this isn't right, and if you want mass take up of electric vehicles, these are the problems you need to solve. And we're talking to the energy companies as well and looking at how we can work with them and find solutions that don't mean one business has a massive expense and no benefit from it. So that's some of the things that we're looking at. We're also looking at some guidance now for operating, the sort of practical day-to-day things that you need to think about in terms of operating electric vehicles. One of the ones we see quite frequently at the moment is the charging cable, for example. So you rent out a hybrid vehicle, for example, it comes back with that charging cable. It's the same as a parcel shelf, and you still need that vehicle to come back in the same condition. So all those kind of practical steps as well we're looking at.
Oh, that is honestly, it's a lot. It sounds very helpful. So we're about just over halfway through, guys. So if you have any questions, not only regarding sustainability, but anything or what we talked about, or anything that you might want to ask Amanda about the BVRLA, or anything like that, just pop them in the comments, and we're going to tackle maybe 2 or more free questions, and then we're going to get to the comments. Okay? So, with all of your experience, Amanda, what would you like to see changed in the rental and leasing industry?
I think what I'd really like to see changed is greater recognition by government and by policymakers that we're moving away now from that kind of one car, one owner scenario. People aren't that keen on owning cars anymore necessarily, and I think there's a massive opportunity for rental companies, for leasing companies to offer that kind of flexible product that fits more with customers' needs. They don't necessarily need to be tied into a fixed contract for 3 or 4 years with a tight mileage restriction, and that's a big commitment. You can look at a much more flexible product, and I think it would be really good. This is one of the things we're working on, is trying to get government to recognise that as a future way of people using vehicles, and they can do that in the newest, the cleanest vehicles. That's what we operate, and that's a far better that journey. If it's a short school run journey, for example, if they're doing that in an electric vehicle that they've rented from a car club for half an hour, in comparison with them doing it in a 15-year-old high polluting second-hand, fourth-hand car, I think there's a great opportunity there, and I think if we could get policymakers to recognise that as the norm, and design legislation and design their policy around that rather than the ownership model, that would be a really great.
Do you think that's something that we're going to see in the near future, or do you think that we're kind of far away from that yet?
I think it is a near future thing. I think government and policymakers that we're talking to now, and the level of government engagement that we're getting at the moment, I think that they are starting to see that. There is still a few people, that are stuck in that, that bygone era of car ownership, and I think, but it is changing, and we are starting to see a shift. But we need to make sure that the legislation, that the future policy really takes it into account.
That's good to know. Lastly, what are some of the most exciting benefits of becoming a member of the BVRLA?
Well, there's a few. Obviously, I think that the most important one is some of the stuff we've already been talking about. If you're a new business, or you're starting up and obviously using your software and things like that as a rental company, you want to know what's changing. You want to know what's going on, and you want to know how, I guess, you can shape those discussions and have influence over them. And the best way to do that is through the BVRLA. We now more than ever, we've got 2 roundtables in the next month with ministers, whether that be a Department of Transport or Department of Business. So we've got almost the ear of government now, which we've not that we've never had it before, but we've got it at a much better level than we've ever had. So it's a great time to get involved with us and help shape those discussions, and make sure that as an SME business that we're representing you, and that your views are being heard. And then alongside that, there's a wealth of guidance. You can ask questions on things like this platform today, but we also obviously have, as a member, you have access to the fact sheets that we have, the guidance that we have. You can ask specific questions. You can run certain scenarios by us. We actually find that's one of the biggest areas where we help and support our SME members, is where they've got a problem, something unusual. They can ring us up and say, what would you do? Just get a second view on it. What would be the best way to resolve this complaint? And that's the kind of really good stuff that we can help out with. And alongside that, there's our training now. Our training packages are going from strength to strength. So you can access all of those as a member. We have e-learning. A lot of stuff is done on Zoom. Things like penalty charge notices, which cause huge admin headache within a rental company's business. We can help with those. We run, as I say, we've got training courses that are sold out till the end of the year now, unfortunately, but we're looking at putting more on that subject. And then The other key area is our alternative dispute resolution service, which I run. And that is really a good way for a business to get, when you get to the end of the road with a complainant, you can't resolve it. And that's where you can come to us. And it looks good from a customer's point of view, because we're looking only at the evidence. We're not looking at it. We're not biased in any way towards the member. We look at the facts of the case and give a opinion. And so that's a really good benefit of being a BVRLA member.
That makes sense.
Sorry.
I was going to say, like, guys, if you have any questions, I know that we have a lot of support in the comments here. One of the questions that we have is, somebody asked, what are the future mobility solutions that you are providing in the industry?
So we aren't necessarily providing future mobility solutions. I think it's more the members that are providing those. But what we do is help, obviously, make sure that the future mobility solutions that are being put forward, whether it be a flexible rental product or some car clubs, etc., we make sure that there's no legislation being introduced that would hamper that and would restrict those opportunities.
I see some people raising their hands. Just pop them in the comments. We'll get to any questions. And in the meantime, can you tell us what is the best way to contact you if they have any questions at all specifically?
Yeah, so best way to contact me is my email address, which is amanda@bvrla.co.uk. And the other contact details are on our website. There's also contact us boxes on our website on the various different pages. So yeah, if there's anything specific there. If there's any membership inquiries, if you're interested in finding out more about membership, again, if you just email myself and we can take that forward.
Amazing. And if there aren't any questions at all, could you tell us if there's anything else that you'd really want people to know about either what you do or about the BVRLA or the future plans that you guys have?
Yeah, I think just all I would advise you to do is go and have a look at our website, have a look at some of the latest information about what we're looking at, some of the, as I say, the Road to Zero report card, which we published yesterday. There's some great research that we've done over the last 12 months, and have a look at some of that information just to get, if you need some market insight. And if you're thinking about membership, or you're an organisation that's looking to start up a rental company, we've got some great advice as well on there that can help you out. And yeah, just have a look around and ask us a question, try us out.
That sounds amazing. We also have somebody commenting that affordable monthly flexi rental leasing is a must. Would you say you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's a real market for it. And I think as I said at the beginning, in this market at the moment where people are having to wait 9 to 12 months for their brand new shiny car that they're leasing for the next 3 years, flexible rental is probably your only solution. You still need to stay mobile. So yeah, I think there's definitely a great market opportunity there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much to you and to everyone who joined our live with Amanda. I'm sure that our audience found it insightful, and if anyone has any questions at all, you could ask us, you could ask Amanda, or email at the BVRLA or at Coastr. A big thank you to our attendees. If you have any further questions, like I said, visit the website. That will probably be the best way to do it. And just to let you know, because we have a few people who joined late, this episode has been recorded. So if you missed any questions, make sure to follow our Instagram page, and we'll be sure to post full video either today or within the next few days. Thank you, Amanda, for your time. This has been very insightful. I'm sure I've learned a ton, so I'm sure everybody else has also saw a lot of value in what we've been talking about. And I hope that this is not the last time we're going to hear from you.
I'm happy to do it again. Lovely to speak to you.
Lovely to speak to you as well. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Amanda.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.